Hi, my name is Alanna Miller. The grades that I'm qualified to teach are 7 to 12. I majored in history and I minored in geography. To date, I've taught grade 10 geography, grade 11 Canadian history, EAL for academic success. I worked with a small group of beginner 1 English students on the map of Canada. I also taught grade 7 social studies. In my current practicum, I'm teaching English 40S Comp, which is the grade 12 English, psychology, and current topics, which is a course about Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit peoples.
Tell us about a lesson you taught that went really well, and why you thought that was so.
A lesson that I taught that went really well was for my grade 7 social studies class. So I did a unit on the global population, and in order to simulate the global population, I found an activity called Population Circle. So what it is I made a circle out of yarn, and I gave each student a number. There were 50 students in the class, so they had to pair up. And then we counted from 0 to 100. Each year represented 5 years, so it was 500 years from 1510 to 2010. And as we counted, students entered the circle when we called their number. The cool thing was that nobody entered the circle until we reached the number 51, showing that population didn't really start growing until about the 1800s. I think that this was a really effective lesson because the students seemed to grasp the concept of how population grew and how it has changed throughout the years. And they also were able to get up and get moving, which is always good.
Tell us about a lesson that didn't go as well, and why you thought that was so.
A lesson that didn't go as well as I would have liked was one that I did with my grade 10 geography class. So it was a resource scarcity game. I sorted the students into groups, and I gave each group an envelope with different equipment, I suppose, in it. So they had to build certain items from the equipment within the envelopes, but they didn't have all of the items that they needed except for one group. So the point of the activity was they were supposed to get a sense of how different nations dealt with resource scarcity. So did they trade for the item that they needed? Did they steal the item that we needed? We had a few of those in the class. I felt that this didn't go as well because there was a lot of confusion about what to do with the game because I don't think that I explained it very well. So there was a little confusion about that. And it also took a lot longer than it should have because I didn't explain about that, which meant my time management was off again. And so then the presentation didn't go very smoothly and the students were a little confused. So we had to recover that again.
Think back to your last practicum. What would the teacher of your class say are your 5 strongest attributes as a teacher?
He would say that my 5 strongest attributes would be my research. So I always do a lot of research before I do anything for the unit. He also would say that my activation activities are one of my strengths. So I like doing a lot of simulations, games, word webs, that I find the students get really engaged, so that was also a strength. Probably he would also say student engagement is strong because I do so many activities. I am able to engage the students. Presentations, I like to use PowerPoint, and my PowerPoint presentations are usually pretty good. And also my willingness to try new things. So I really like finding new ideas to use for the class.
What would he say is the area you need to work on?
An area that I need to work on is probably condensing the information. So because I do a lot of research and because I get all passionate about all the research that I've done and I want to share it with my students, I do tend to overshare at times. I believe my CT nicknamed it as bludgeoning them with information. So I did tend to go a little too in-depth for the grade 7s and for my geography and history class because I'm excited about it and I want to share it. So I've been working on kind of paring back the amount of information that I share and how in-depth that information is. Another area that I do need to work on is time management. Because I do go a little too in-depth, the time does sometimes run away from me, and that can be an issue, but I am working on that.
What do you think makes a good lesson?
I think that a good lesson has an activation activity. So something that's done at the beginning of the class to kind of engage the students, get them interested in what you're going to do, or at least wake them up if it's a Monday morning class. Then I like to do presentations, so either I do a PowerPoint, or I get the students to read an article, or we watch a video, so some way that the students acquire the information. I like to use a lot of visuals when I do that in order to engage all the different types of learners. And then generally I think that a good lesson allows the students to show their understanding and apply what they've learned, so a worksheet or a project or an inquiry that they can do. So I think that a good lesson is all about student engagement and getting them engaged in the material that you're doing. So I became a teacher because I found that I loved explaining history and geography to my friends and my family, and I really wanted to share my passion for both of these subjects with other people, so it was kind of a natural progression into the teaching profession, where every day I can try to engage students with both of my subjects and try to make them as interested in history and geography as I am. I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you very much for your consideration.